We're back with the Women in Sports series here with Black Sports Network. I have Cristina Ackas with me. She is the VP of Inclusive Diversity at Octagon Sports and Entertainment. She has an extensive background in marketing research. Cristina, thank you so much for joining us today. We are honored to have you and celebrate you today.
Thank you so much. And I'm so honored to be here.
Absolutely. So to kind of just jump right into this, spring is upon us. The new year is here. Thank God. What is something that you are particularly excited about in 2021? It can be something personally or professionally.
Oh, I just want to get back outside. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and we do everything together. So I'm ready to hit up New York City streets and do some brunches with my little 5-year-old, who's really like a 60-year-old woman. So we have the best time. So I'm just ready to go outside. I just want to go outside. I want to run the streets. I want to kind of go back to normal. So
absolutely,
I'm just ready to get out, socialize again.
Absolutely. I don't know if you heard, but President Joe, he's talking about July 4th. I don't know. He said if we can get everybody or not everybody, but like adults starting to get vaccinated in May, then we can potentially be outside.
That and travel. Ready to travel again too. And I now have my current role is actually I have an office out in LA. So I'm looking forward to getting out there as well and just catching up with everyone. So between traveling and just being outside and letting my little one be outside in a more free manner is what I'm looking for.
Absolutely. With no mask, just breathing free, just out and about. But President Joey B, he says he's handling it. So we will
he's on it.
Keep our fingers crossed. But you have had quite a journey professionally. You have an extensive background in marketing research and analytics, and now you're at Octagon. You know, you're their VP of Inclusive Diversity. Can you please tell us more about your journey and just how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, long time ago. Okay, so I went to Temple University. I studied broadcast, telecommunication, and mass media. I knew I wanted to be like in the marketing world and ad space, and that's because growing up, my mom's favorite movie was Boomerang. So
classic.
That's
a classic, though.
I was like, oh, that's the world I need to be in. Like, that's the job I want. I want something new every day. I want the competitive nature. I want to see the product. So I always knew I wanted to be in the ad space. Upon graduation, I actually moved down to Atlanta and got my first job at a startup called Moxie Interactive. And it was a full service digital agency, right? And it was the most innovative place. I mean, everyone was so young. It was a fun environment. It ruined me and my idea of corporate America, right? Because you came into this startup and people are on rollerblades and there are dogs running around and we had frogs and, it was like college with a salary.
Wow.
So, but it was really awesome because it allowed you to also see a new side of things because again, it was a digital startup. So, we were one of the first agencies to put an interactive ad on YouTube. Like we were super, super innovative. We were creative. Again, it was full service. So you saw everything from my role in research and kind of understanding the consumer mindset and then seeing it be pulled through strategy and getting that big idea and then having creative think of the messaging also behind it. And then you had our tech team who built it, right? So we literally just did so much in that space. And that really catapulted me and my knowledge, I think, of just the digital world. So kind of fast forward and through my career, I always stayed on the digital side, whether I was at a digital entity or I was at like a traditional media place and kind of just being a piece of that expertise within digital. So going from there, I ended up within IPG at my current sister agency, and really, focusing again on more of like the data side, kind of the heavy data analytics. So at this point, I have the digital side, I have research and consumer insights, I have trend spotting, and then bringing me really to really being that expert within the digital space in a traditional media shop for some really big brands. So now kind of having to really show that ROI, right? Showing the value of marketing and media and advertising. So, and that all kind of plays into where I am now, because then I went over to Octagon marketing and events. And there I really just led a small team that focused on kind of innovative measurement and research for our sports partnerships, right? So for our brands. So, 2020 hit. So I started here in 2019, 2020 hit. We're all at home. The murder of George Floyd occurs, and me being who I always am, I'm very vocal. Wrote a letter to our leadership, kind of letting them know that their Black employees weren't okay, right? And I mean, a part of that, when I started in 2019 at Octagon, I helped launch our Black employee network. So I always kind of, was able to be in a position of, kind of being that liaison for leadership as well, kind of letting them know when things are on or off track. And, when the murder of George Floyd happened and we were all crying in between Zooms and mental health was at an all-time low, there wasn't enough attention, and there wasn't enough I think awareness even of what we were really going through and understanding of what we were going through. So, spoke up, as I usually do, kind of let them know, like, hey, you're dropping the ball here. We act and we speak as a family. So when someone in your family is hurting, you should be there front and center. And I think that really also changed the world of corporate America, and probably even the D&I space, because up until then, there still was this separation of church and state, right? Your personal life was your personal life, your work life was your work life. And even if you were Black, you kind of left a part of that at home, right?
Oh, for sure.
So whether it's intentional or not, we leave our home life at home. And because last year, instead of working from home, we're now just like at home working, like it's all a convoluted space. It was very hard to separate the two. And after, reaching out to leadership, letting them know that, we really have to start paying attention. And now is the time for us to be more aggressive in how we address all things inclusive diversity. Our leadership team came back to the Black Employee Network specifically with some commitments for change. And a part of those commitments were actually building out our ID team. So in the past, we had a previous VP of inclusive diversity, but one of the issues we saw was that she just wasn't supported enough with enough resources, with enough people. And it's a big job and it's a heavy lift. So with this commitment of having this team, kind of raised my hand after spoke to a few people in the ID space, because I was like, oh, I don't know if mentally I can take that, because it is a lot.
It is.
And I'm sure we'll get into what the role is now, but I had to kind of speak to a few people in the space of just how do you manage, because even as a Black woman, I come to work sometimes as an escape. Right? Like I come to work, especially being in research, right? I just want to get in, I want to get the job done. I want to think of some new projects. I want to, please the clients. And for those 8 hours, I can kind of step out of the world of like constantly identifying as something. Right. And because sometimes that's tiresome. And now, it's just like being in this role, I don't think I ever get to step out of always identifying as something, right? Identifying as a woman, identifying as Black, identifying as Hispanic. So there's always this, because there's this always on mentality now. Will I be able to handle that while also taking on other people's emotional concerns, right? So after having those conversations, I was like, all right, cool. I just know I'm going to need therapy, but I think I can do it, right? If there's anyone that can do it, it could be me, I guess. And then the other question that I had, though, was really about, before applying, was what does success look like, right? Because again, I come from a data and a research background. I'm used to measuring something, having the answers, right? Having the measurement solutions, and then being able to recommend what to do forward, right? How do you optimize? How do you make it better? And then it's done, pat on the back, next project. Like, what does that look like in this world, right? Yeah. I don't think we're ever going to be at a place where we're 100% diverse, 100% inclusive, which, I mean, that's how I'll keep my job. But right, in the perfect world, we want to get there. But we know that it's going to take a long time, right? It's not something that happens immediate. And I didn't know if I would be able to truly identify what success looked like without that end goal being reached. And the best piece of feedback really was, look, you have to identify what your successes are going to look like and achieve them. And it's not going to be, that success happens in inches, right? Not miles in this role. And from there, I was like, all right, well, if I already know that I'm going to be crying once a week and can tap into therapy, I'm like, is there an extra therapy budget for D&I professionals? Like,
there should be.
Let me know. Truly. But, kind of once you know what to expect. So that was really important too. Like, you have to be prepared, mentally prepared to come into these roles. So once I really got a lay of the land, I stepped in the role. And the other part of it, though, is being in sports. Like, what's crazy is when I started my role at Octagon, I used to joke, like, I laugh, but I don't joke. I was like, I don't know sports. Like, do not put me in front of the clients and have them ask me about sports. Like, I do not know sports. I probably
like, I know the numbers. I know how to look at the marketing strategy.
Look, I can research the heck out of anything you put in front of me. Okay. You will get some geo mapping in here. Like, I can measure it. Please don't ask me who played the game. Like, I don't know. I don't know who the players are. Like, don't do it. But I will say, though, is the absence of sports, like most things, right? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think I realized with the absence of sports, now I'm like, oh, I think I really did like sport. Like, even if it wasn't even conscious, like, I'm like, baseball games I go to a year and I don't even, like, it's just like it's America's pastime, right? Like, I'm like, oh, I kind of miss that. I mean, I'm in the suite, like I'm up in the box drinking, but it's like, I miss going there to have a drink. Like,
a nice little social soiree,
Like, this living room isn't doing it for me anymore. Like, but it really did, absence makes the heart grow fond. And I started to realize the power that sports had. And one of the projects we actually did before I truly stepped into this role was research to understand the role of sports in social justice and what our fans looking for. And we executed that in the US as well as the UK, because as we all know, this was a global pandemic. This was a global societal issue.
Absolutely.
And that research was really amazing because it did put things into perspective. Like, what, these athletes have a platform. These teams have power. These brands who are sponsoring these teams have power. We need to use our power for good. And to kind of fast forward into my role right now as the VP of Inclusive Diversity, one of my big pillars is really, what is that external impact we can have, right? Because we can fix our household. And I use this analogy a lot, but it's like when you can buy the ugliest house on the ugliest block. You can fix up that house. You can renovate it, make it beautiful. But your property value isn't going to go up if your neighborhood is still ugly, right? Like, you have to get outside and you have to mow your neighbor's lawns. You have to help them paint their fences. You have to beautify your neighborhood. So as we think about, yes, we could clean house all day and we could focus on our diversity issues and really boosting inclusivity and creating a culture of belonging. But let's make sure we use the power that we have to fix our industries, because our agencies are still only going to reflect what our industries are doing. So that is really the beauty of being in this role, because I really do get to see the areas of external impact that we can have.
Absolutely.
So that was a long answer for
it was great.
But I've done a lot. Yeah.
It was a great answer.
And the other great piece, I think, from having that consumer insights market research background is that now, I'm in this role and I'm able to look at the data
right,
a little bit differently, right? Kind of cutting it in new ways, looking at probably in ways that people may or may not have. But that's really, I think, part of the advantage of being in this role is I'm also so close to the data. So we can talk about all the things we want to do, but let's see how realistic it is based off of, really utilizing an analytical approach for any of our diversity metrics.
Right. I mean, there is power in mixed methodology when it comes to data, right? I mean, you have the quant side, and that's great, and all the numbers and, people analytics and everything that's kind of on that side, but like qualitative and getting the feedback and, being able to talk to people, being able to get them into these spaces and seeing what's needed. And like you said, getting out there, helping to paint the fence, helping to mow the lawn, doing the work. It sounds like you all are really putting action behind what you're saying, which is so crucial because this year alone, like it's been a lot to say the least, right? But the biggest thing is putting action behind what you're saying, right? Putting action behind that Twitter statement, right? Making sure that, like you said, is there a budget for mental health to be doing this work? Because it does get draining. It does get draining, like I think of just like psychological safety. Like, are you in a safe environment to be able to take these risks, to be able to have these conversations? Are you going to be supported? Are you going to be backed? Are you going to be, concerned about your job? What are the contingencies? And, like you said, it's going to take time. This does not happen overnight. I mean, we're talking about systemic ideology.
Let me tell you. One of the things I think about is, and which will be my research study on the back end, is how many people that have just come into the world of D&I. So like myself, right? 2020 happened. I'm like, I'm making this career change, right? I've been in research and strategy for X amount of years, because y'all don't need to know how old I am. But for X amount of years.
Right.
And all of a sudden I'm going to change to a whole new field that I don't have kind of that educational foundation, but I have the heart for it. And I think that's a big part of it as well.
Right.
And the passion for it. And I can learn, right? I can learn that stuff. But what I think about is the people that are just coming into this world, this career field. And especially with some companies, not Octagon Sports Entertainment Network, thank goodness, but for those people that are coming into these new roles at companies that never had these roles before, that are just now prioritizing D&I, I'm like, I want to see how quick, I hope not, but like where that burnout takes place, because you are coming into this new space in a matter of 6 months because we're done talking. Right. And as employees, we are done talking. We're ready to see action. It scares me at how quickly we may hit burnout because we are not fixing the last year of issues in our agencies, right? We are fixing 30, 40, 50 years of issues that have been just a part of our foundation of our companies. Right. Like that's a lot for any individual. So the one piece of advice, and it's mostly women in these roles, right? And I don't know if it's a maternal thing or what, but you do see a huge increase in especially Black women in these roles. So the one piece of advice that I would give to anyone, but especially speaking to my women right now, is you have to find your own kind of daily therapies to help release. And self-care. I laugh, but I don't joke, but I hired a manager on my team, Michaela Jackson, and poor girl, because every night we are on like Teams or Zooms or, Cisco WebEx, we're on there for at least an hour and a half, just like unloading the day. Right. And what I realized was about like 90 days in, well, not even, I think she's only been with us for like 60 days. Poor MJ, I'm so sorry. But every day we're on the phone for an hour, a video call for an hour and a half at night. And it's like, And I told her, I'm like, I don't know if I'm unloading my stuff on you. Like, I hope you also are unloading on me. But it really turned out to be the therapy I needed. Like, I needed to be able to get it off my chest while developing solutions. So anyone who knows me knows, like, I will never talk about a problem without a solution. So she's also had to deal with my mental vomit. But it's just very, you have to find your own kind of mini therapy. And the other thing, and they better give me some kind of sponsorship, Canva. Let me tell you about Canva.
Oh, I love Canva.
I am not a designer at all, but I love Canva. It's to the point where, like, instead of just sending an email that says, thank you for doing this for me, I literally go in and like design a thank you card. But doing that like 3 times a day, it's like a 20-minute break throughout the day. And I'm able to just show gratitude through this. It's probably like a digital coloring book for me. Now I can see the attraction to the adult coloring books. When COVID really hit, because taking those minutes, and I don't know if it's a combination of showing my, just being appreciative and showing gratitude for people, really, because this role requires a lot of help.
Yes.
And the help is usually coming from people where this isn't their job, but they are as dedicated and as passionate to really pushing our company culture forward. So, when they take an hour out of their day, I'm very appreciative and I want to show gratitude. So I hop on Canva for like 20 minutes and I'm like, that has also become my therapy, really. So
absolutely,
that's definitely a piece of advice I give for anyone in these roles and just in general, like find time for you throughout the day.
Absolutely. Self-care is so important, but you mentioned a few things and I want to talk about them. Because first of all, you may be coming into this space, right? Newly in the space of D&I, but you have life experience, right? Woman of color, layered experiences, right? Double minority. So you have life experience, to say the least. And then secondly, like you said, self-care is so important, and finding safe space to have these conversations is crucial. So I'm happy that you all have that time at night, just hopping on Zoom to be like, girl, what happened today? This is what happened. This is what so-and-so said. Because like you said earlier, these companies, I saw a boom on LinkedIn. I saw a boom of just like open positions for D&I, and it was just coming from everywhere. Every company was trying to hire someone in the D&I space. And I think at one point there were like 1 million new postings a week for D&I specifically on LinkedIn. And I was like, whoa, this is nuts. But like you said, if some of these companies are starting from ground zero, like that's a lot of unlearning. And studies have shown, research has shown, like people are not adamant to change, right? Depending on where they are in their professional career, especially when you have a range of different ages that you're dealing with and different populations and so on and so forth. Like people aren't always adamant to be like, woo, let's just jump on the bandwagon and change. So there's a lot of unlearning taking place and, a lot of meeting people where they're at and acknowledging that, and then moving forward with allyship through action, right? You can do the LinkedIn posts and reposts and say BLM, blah, 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 but I need the action. So I always say allyship through action. Like I want the whole thing. Because that matters. One question I have for things.
Yeah, sorry. Just to
you're good. No, go ahead.
Go back to another comment you just made. Like
sure.
Being reluctant to change. It's interesting because you have companies who have financially been very successful. So in their mind, there is this, well, why do I need to change? We're good. We're successful. Right. And when I present to anyone how we are approaching diversity and inclusion across our Octagon Sports and Entertainment Network, I talk about up until about 2019, this field had to constantly prove the business case for diversity.
Right.
Like it was all about how diversity will boost your revenue and, having diverse teams, what it'll do for your bottom line. And me being me, and I think maybe the reason I'm good in this role is because I'm just very blunt, because I'm like, I'm not telling you why it's good for business anymore. That conversation has been happening for the last 30, 40, 50 years.
The data's already out.
The field has been here. And at the end of the day, it's really, if you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it.
Right.
So 2020, really it was like the heart case, right? Mm-hmm. So we had the business case for diversity up until 2019. 2020 really showed like the case of the heart. We need inclusive organizations because that's when we are going to be at our best. And then 2021, where we are now, it's really about that foundation for change, right? So again, I'm so far past here's why it's good for business. Like, I'm not doing it anymore. Like, we're here to change. If you don't recognize that change needs to happen, you're probably a part of the problem. And you have like 2 conversations with me until I'm like dead weight, right? Because one thing that we should all understand, especially in these roles, is that when it comes to inclusive cultures, we really need to make sure that we're focusing on fixing the system, not the people. If we keep putting energy in just fixing people, we're going to run in circles. When we fix the system, those that want to follow that system will naturally do what they need to do in order to move forward with that system. And those that don't will naturally fall out. So again, you have like 2 conversations with me before I'm like, lost cause, I'm done. Yeah. Right? We're making this change anyway. I hope you're aligned with it. But then the other piece of it, sorry, and again, because you brought up really good points, is that allyship. And what was interesting is coming into this role, you realize you really are, fighting and working for everyone. So, some of our allies, and it's a fair question. It's like, well, I did post on Instagram. I am showing my support. How much more, not how much more, but how do I show further support? Right. And again, this is the interesting piece of like, it's no longer separation of church and state, because now it's like, well, I want to really see you in the office showing that you support me, showing that you support change. And what does that look like? And I'm still trying to write that list down. So if anyone has any suggestions, right. But it really is. And that's more, to be very frank and honest, that's mostly for our white employees, right? Yes. Who are like, look, I want to be there for you. I want to support you. And I kind of want to know how. And while, I'm blunt, while I think my initial reaction is like, I can't tell you how to support me. Right. But that's like personal Cristina. But then when we get into the professional Cristina, it's like, well, sometimes some people really just need that roadmap, right? Like when I think about right now, our Asian communities,
absolutely.
There are times when I'm like, wait, what can I do? Like, tell me what I can do. So I'm like, that's the same question where we were being asked at one point by our white employees, our white coworkers. So it's, again, but it's there's still this dual side where it's like personal Cristina is like, look, just do it. We just got to get stuff done. I don't care. But professional Cristina is like, yeah, we need to sit down and we need to help each other. We need to figure out what we need. And then the resources we need. And then everyone should really be moving forward towards that. So yeah, action through allyship. Is that what you said?
Allyship through action.
Allyship through action. And it's very close to how we approach it. So my approaches are like intentional inclusivity. Just be intentional. If you walk in every day with the mindset of, I'm going to intentionally be inclusive today, then that's the first step. And it's okay to acknowledge that you are reaching out to someone you may not have ever reached out before, right? You are being intentional in what you are doing because you want to make a change, but you have to make that step and you have to make that mind switch, right? Like, I am purposely going to maybe step out of my comfort zone today, or I'm going to talk to someone that I never talked to before. I'm going to learn something I've never learned before about another culture because I intentionally want to start making action and change. So
for sure.
I wanted to.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I'm loving the conversation because at the end of the day, there's so many things that we don't know, right? So coming into this space, like, how do you know what you don't know? So having those conversations is crucial. And you mentioned a really good point just about changing the system, right? You're trying to change people. That's cool. But the system is where the change needs to kind of occur. And that's why I love organizational behavior so much, because I'm looking at systems. I'm looking at like micro and macro, how these things are moving in the organization, because you can have a psychologist and your psychologist can be great and help you through everything and have the conversations and you feel really good inside. inside and you feel like you can give your energy. But then if you go into an unhealthy situation, then it's like, we got to work through this again because you're in that situation. So organizationally thinking about the structure and how things move is where we get the change done. And having those conversations is so crucial. And it's kind of like when you were talking, I was just immediately thinking of like, and we've probably all had them, of like having a partner who doesn't want to love you out loud. Like they want to support you behind the scenes and it's cool, but loving you out loud is like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I want to put myself out there. I don't know. And that's kind of how we've been seeing some people move, frankly, some white people move in the space. It's like, oh man, I support you. I'm posting here. No, I need some action. I need you to be putting yourself out there for me, right? And make sure that I'm in a safe space. So it matters. So thank you for saying that because it's crucial. And I'm happy you all are doing that at Octagon. My last question for you is just, it's Women's History Month. This is why you were here. This is why we're celebrating you over at BSN. And, you know, what is something that you've experienced this month that has made you feel seen and celebrated as a Black woman, like made you feel affirmed? It can be something as small as a social media post or something as big as like, I don't know, you got an award or something, or just something personal.
It's probably something more personal. I took my daughter to to get like a reading assessment, right? She's 5. She's my first child. I'm one of those moms. I'm like, is she reading at a 12th grade level? She's in kindergarten.
Like my mom.
Yeah, no, it's me. And the poor guy at the center, he was like, this is your only child, huh? I was like, I know I got problems. I know, it's me. I have no point of reference. I'm a researcher. I don't know. I don't have a benchmark.
Like, I need to see where we're at.
Yeah. So after she took her assessment, she stayed in the room and he asked her to draw a picture while he came and told me the results of her assessment, which she's totally fine. And when she came out, she showed me the picture and she drew a picture. So I'm a single mom. And she drew a picture of her with 5 of me's in the same picture, right? And because he was like, who's this? And she was like, my mom. And he was like, who's this? And she was like, my mom. So she wrote mom on top of it. And it was just like, I think, right, I'm seen at work. I make myself seen at work. I have a great family, I have a great support system, but every now and then as a woman and as a mom, I break down internally because I'm like, am I doing enough as a mom? Right? I'm doing so much over here. I'm doing what I know I should be doing as a mom, but like, is it enough? And does my daughter understand that? So her kind of drawing that picture, it was like, oh, okay, she sees all the hats that I wear. Like she recognizes it. And, there's a lot to say from what kids draw, right? That's a lot of times why.
Absolutely. It's like a subconscious put on the paper.
Yeah. So that was the moment I think that I felt seen and rewarded. And it says a lot too, because I work for a company that is amazing, right? We have work to do. We all have work to do, but I feel seen there. I feel heard, but I'm very vocal as well. And again, that's why I hope to use my platform to make sure that I speak up for all of our employees. But being seen at home by my daughter, who probably has seen me a lot more this year because of COVID, but in the past, right? Like she goes to school, she gets picked up by the daycare, and then the babysitter picks her up from the daycare. And, that's my village and it works for me. But there are definitely moments where I'm like, I hope she understands like all of this is really, I'm doing it for her on so many levels, right? To put a roof over her head, to get her every new LOL surprise doll and car out there, but also to make sure that when it's time for her to start working, she doesn't have to deal with a lot of the issues that we had to, right? Like my job here, my purpose here as a mom, but also in this role is I am crawling and walking so that she can run, right? She's going to grow up and she's going to be able to run. And that's for her to see that and demonstrate that in a drawing was everything to me.
Wow. That is so
moms,
special.
I promise you, the kids know it. Can I be vulgar? Can I curse? Because everyone knows me anyway. Like kids are assholes. Like they really are. And mine is, right? But I love her. And but she can be an a-hole sometimes. But they truly see mom as a superhero and as a superwoman. So any moment that you're feeling down or feeling like you're not doing enough, I promise you are. And, just hold on to that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Wow. That was everything. That was so special. I mean, because kids really do remember. I mean, like, I remember when I was 5, my mom and dad they're like hoarders. They still have all the drawings, all the like little report cards, everything. They saved it. And that's so special. I mean, showing up is everything. And like, as kids, you remember those things. You remember the little things that your parents may think like is so just not significant, but you pay attention to. So she's definitely paying attention to you, Mom, and you are definitely celebrated. So that is it for the interview, but I have some quick fire questions for you. You have to, it's based on what we've just talked about, but you have to answer in one word or less or one sentence or less.
One sentence or less.
Okay. Or one word. What's your favorite part about working for Octagon? People. What is advice to people wanting to do this work in the D&I space for sports and entertainment?
Be prepared.
Be prepared. That's
can
a good
elaborate,
one.
Or can I just say
we can just leave it at that because we've touched on it. Yeah. What's a cause that you really care about?
It's a cause I really care about. I think just love for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Being inclusive.
Single cause. Like I really do just want the world to be a better place. Like on my Miss America.
Yeah,
moment. For sure.
Who is your favorite female athlete?
Didn't I tell you? I don't know.
Okay, what's
Simone Biles? Because Simone Biles.
She's great. Okay, boom. Side thing. What's the favorite game you've ever been to?
The favorite game I've ever been to?
Yeah, your favorite gaming event.
Oh, come on. Temple homecoming. Can I use college sports?
Absolutely. I mean, homecoming is everything. Game. What you mean? Like, homecoming is everything. I know everybody was missing out on that this year because, I mean, I'm from the DMV. My brother's a Howard alum. So my dad's a Hampton alum. And so HBCU homecomings were like.
Let me tell you, my aunt is 11 years older than me, and she went to Howard. So when she was, 18? I was like, 9?
Right.
Around 9 years old. And I went to homecoming.
And you pulled out with her?
Oh, this is lit. I think it was like, I went for like move-in day.
Yeah.
And then I went for homecoming. I'm like 9, 10 years old. I'm like, this fire. Homecoming, this college? Oh yeah, I'm coming. Oh yeah, I'm coming to college.
Where's the first place you're going when COVID is officially over? Like when we can go outside, no masks on. Where's the first place you're going? Where's the first place you're traveling to?
First place I'm traveling to, Jamaica.
Such a good trip. Oh, it's beautiful there. Okay. Boom. That's the end. Cristina, Ackas, thank you so much for joining us today for our Women in Sports series at Black Sports Network. You're amazing. This was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. And thank you, Black Sports Network. You guys
absolutely
awesome thing.
Absolutely.